Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi coming to you live from Los Angeles, California, but helping people from across the globe, wherever you live, about helping with U.S. immigration. Frankly, people are trying to bring their loved ones here, or they love their craft, their profession so much that they're spectacular at it, and we help those people be able to come and live, work in the United States, and a lot of them eventually become U.S. citizens. So especially if you're married, we have a really good guide called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. And if you just go to for free, it's a 41-page PDF called the website's called marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. And if you go there, you can download the PDF and get the information you need to get started thinking about how the U.S. immigration system works, what you're going to be dealing with. And it's going to be a lot of changes. Already a lot of changes happened. Remember last time we had a different president administration, and that was a lot of changes right there. Twice a day something would change. So bear for that and just study ahead of time to get yourself in if you can, to plan accordingly so you have a good system coming in. So we take your questions live here. BD says hello to you too, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Probably going to change the time next week or sometime soon to an hour earlier. But we come in 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're doing it for a couple of years now. These are Tuesdays. And we take your questions, give you a general idea. He said, do you have a link to ask a question? Where you're asking a question right now is where it's showing up to me if you're watching a live show. We're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and TikTok. And so we always get a lot of questions unless the internet goes down, which unfortunately happens once a couple of weeks, unfortunately. But with that, we can't give individual legal guidance. It's just intended for general educational purposes only. Parminder says hello to you too, Parminder. But ask your questions, and I'll give you a general idea of what's going on or what stuff pops up in my mind. Now, there's other things here saying I'm losing connection, all that kind of stuff. Very annoying that this phone's having this issue for TikTok. But TikTok followers, sorry about that. Letco says I-130 approved a month ago after interview, but I-485 still pending. Life quotes, that happens. I have to see your case to see if there's something that stands out that's bad about your case. But sometimes that kind of stuff just happens. BD says, I have a question, sir. You asked 2 questions already, BD. You have, if it's with Jeannie, you have 1 question left. So yes, let's get some juicy kind of question that has some meat to it. There we go. Harrison Bay says, quick immigration question. Where do babies come from? Good question. I don't know. XF says, has my EAD renewal application, and I still haven't got an extension notice in the mail. What do I do? Wait 30 days. And if you haven't got it, contact USCIS about it. And there's a payment for that. See if the check has been cashed or the credit card has been charged. I'll give you some idea of if it's going through or not. This is a big issue. And so I was probably make it now and hopefully make a clip out of this one. But there's a lot of rejections happening by USCIS in the last 6 weeks. Ever since the new April 1st fee regimen came in, there's been an extraordinary amount of rejections happenings, where even incorrect by USCIS, where people send the right form amounts, all that kind of stuff in, and they reject it. So it takes a couple weeks later notice, you'll get somebody that says we didn't accept your case, and they're sending the whole thing back. So that is happening widespread. We're hearing from attorney colleagues who will send like 4 of the same cases in, and one of them will come back with wrong fees. So this happens, especially as wild and insanely they've changed the fee system, which was just like it doesn't seem very logical the way they're just trying to be nice about it. It's so complicated just to know what the fee is with USCIS now that it's unbelievable. And it creates so much more legal work. So USCIS in certain aspects of their fee changes on April 1st made some things cheaper, but the process to make those less expensive for lawyers and for your time created so much that like the $10 to $300 you may save, it adds on like $500 or $700 in like lawyer time on it to save those 300 because you have to document it. And we have no choice for some cases where you have to document this. So it creates all this unnecessary work on everybody. Honestly, on the facts of it, really badly designed system. They could have increased the fees, whatever. But what they created, this fee system, it's probably going to have a lawsuit because even on the USCIS website, they have a fee calculator. If you go to that fee calculator, it misconstrues. It's very difficult to understand what in the world's going on. And this is going to cause a lot of people who especially are doing the cases on their own, because it's hard enough for me as an immigration lawyer, I've been doing it for 15 years, or how many years I'm doing it since 2010 or something like that. For that person to understand what in the world's going on is that difficult. And for someone, and I do it every day, for someone's new at it, they're going to get their cases rejected, and potentially some will have issues where they may age out or they have deadlines. And it's a very there's just a lot of chaos right now happening. It's going to hurt a lot of people. Thousands of people are probably going to get miss their green card deadlines because of this mess. So it's just very sad to see it. And as you see, it doesn't matter what presidential administration is when it comes to immigration. And it's not even politics, just the implementation of practical steps always comes out bad. It's just so complicated area of law that nothing good happens when people are changing, even if they're like for you and all this kind of stuff. So that's the really bad news, but that's what we deal with. XF says, I don't trust my lawyer because they have bad reviews. I called and they told me it says they have to wait a couple weeks for response to accurate. It isn't inaccurate. These things take a bit of time, and the government, usually when you submit it, you'll get a receipt like a week later, but right now everything's a mess. So we have stuff that are taking longer than others. It's not really reliable what's going on. So it could be that they're completely right. It could be that they're wrong. I just got no way to tell. We probably won't know for 2 to 3 weeks at least. So stick with what your lawyer's saying, unless there's some really specific thing that stands out that they're messing up on. All right, BD says, I updated my case for I-130 petition through NBC, but I didn't know that I have to do I-130. I don't know that I have to do it for my kids separately. I did it for them. What should I do? My wife's passed. We're still at the embassy. I upgraded. Sorry. BD, that's like 2 case specific. You probably have to request direct filing with the embassy, I'm guessing, but there's a lot of stuff going on there. But you probably do direct filing so you get it done faster to match up with your wife's case. If it's correct that your wife's case is at the embassy, because I'm assuming you're a U.S. citizen. And a U.S. citizen, when they file for their spouse, their children don't automatically come with it. Each child needs to do an I-130. We deal with this issue a lot. We just got a case recently about it, a couple of cases actually right now. Okay, so yeah, BD, that's probably what happened, but it's 2 case specific. But direct filing may be the solution, but there's a lot that goes into that. Then it's 2 case specific. Can't get to it here, but there might be solutions, but it's still going to take a while because everything's a mess. Ramesh says, need information about EB3 unskilled visa. It is not current now. When will it be current? These things no one knows. It's just we take it day by day or month by month. XF says, do I have to call the USCIS field office or any specific office I have to call? Right now, if you call, you don't have a case number. So it's, you call their 1-800 number. You just call the USCIS hotline. That's the only place you can call. Good luck getting hold of someone that can help you, but that's the place to call. But inevitably, it might just take 2 or 3 weeks. We don't know. All right, let's go to TikTok. Got a bunch of questions there, miss. What is the process of adjusting F1 through marriage? So, Mecha Rousseau, thanks for asking this question. We have a full guide that's just intended for that question. Our target number 1 kind of client is a student visa holder who marries a classmate or someone when they're studying in the United States. That's the most typical case we handle. The marriage immigration guide we have, the ultimate marriage green card guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. The website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Has that, then schedule a consultation. Madeline asks, what is the process of K1 fiancé visa? That guide has it in there too. marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Download the guide, it has it there. And then within the guide, I have individual YouTube videos that are 10 or 20 minutes that go over each chapter by video form and longer form. So it's all there. And then schedule a consultation with us. Zara says, if I join the National Guard as a resident, can I get my parents' parole in place? Probably. I think National Guard is military, so that probably works. But you got to see whether parole in place makes a difference or not. And if you do join the National Guard one day, contact our office. We give free chats with active duty military personnel. Monster House says someone came into U.S. illegally and they are now have a U.S. citizen son who's 21. Can they get residency? Unfortunately, no. They could start the process to prove the parent's their parent, but because the parent came in without permission, they've accumulated what's called unlawful presence days, and enough of them where eventually a parent have to go to the U.S. Embassy to do a green card interview. And when they leave the U.S. to do that, then they would get banned from coming back in. And they need to have a spouse or a parent or someone who has a qualifying waiver who can get forgiveness. Unless there's an exception, like the previous question to you, a person said, if I join the military organization, the U.S. military and National Guard in that particular case, can my parents do parole in place? There is an exception for this parole in place thing right there, where if you're active duty military personnel, you could have and it might be broader than that, but you could have immediate family members act like they came in legally, so that would fix the situation in your case. Now, sometimes you have family members who came in without permission, stayed here a year, left, and then came back again. That causes a permanent ban. Parole in place can't fix that. That's why the previous question, I just left that was too much. But I just say if we go into this stuff, there's always multiple levels deeper you have to dig to see what the problems are. But that's the issue that comes up. Your parents came without permission, even if the child's under 21. Hyatt says, how can you invite your parents while you only have a green card? There's no invitation. The parents file for a tourist visa, and they may get approved. They may not. X30 follows up. Before you get your first EAD, the receipt when you file says 180 extended, file on time. I have proof, and I showed my employer notice of proof. I say I do not qualify for the extension. What Class C document? I don't know. I'll have to see the documents and see why they haven't done it. You have to be a certain category of case to get the 180-day exception. The employers are supposed to. There's USCIS.gov kind of information you can use to show the employer. If they don't accept it, that's a violation. That's not a crime, it's a civil issue, something for not accepting proper documents. So yeah, we got to see your paperwork. That's too case specific, except to really talk about it here. Schedule a consultation, I guess. C9 category, yeah, has to have automatic extension. So the employer is just making a mistake. Your lawyer should find some website, screenshots they can send you to give to the employer, I guess, help you with that. But if they want to do that. Sarah says, if I join the National Guard, already answered that question. Crystal says, what should I do if my husband's case I-130 isn't being approved? It's been over 2 years. If you want to sue, but if your husband's a green card holder, LPR, or you're an LPR, it's going to take 2 years. That's not abnormal. Abdullah says, marriage base sent to New York field office. It's been 50 months. What can I do? Nothing. That's normal. You can wait. Rahan says, can the officers see all pending processes? Can they process more than one? I don't know what you're referring to, but we don't really know what they're doing. Doesn't matter. Like the question, I can't understand it maybe, but I don't think it will make a difference in any of your cases. Okay, so that's one of the places we ask questions. YouTube. Okay. Mehmet says, I got a bunch of questions on YouTube. Do I have to wait for my I-130 to prove for my kids? BD, if you do direct filing, the whole intent is to expedite your children's cases. Carmen says, I have an RFE medicals. I sent them 10 days before the deadline to get with my sons. They received it. Operated my son's account, but on mine. Now it appears I haven't responded to the online account is not reliable, so I wouldn't really worry about it. But just make sure you sent the RFE notice for each of your cases that are associated with it, whatever. I don't know what you actually sent them because I haven't seen I don't know the package. But if you're worried about it, call them up and get that stuff started. Mehmet says, my marriage has been approved, and I'm waiting for 2 years for I-485 approval to progress on time. I'm still waiting. Yeah, sometimes it takes that long, but I've seen it take that long for 5 to 10% of cases. BT says, my I-129 approved in 2021, and I've given an interview in 2023 after embassy interview, put me in straight processing. They asked you to contact USCIS for details. We got to see what happened because if they say contact USCIS, does that mean they rejected your case or denied your case at embassy? I got to know exactly what's going on. I can't answer that. Danny says, is parking tickets the same as citation and citizenship interview? I don't consider. You have to know the history of the question about tickets and citations on the form N400 for citizenship for that question. It's an interesting one, and you get older and then you get experience and stuff. So again, seeing the history of things evolve. The form N400 used to be a couple pages, and then it just keeps increasing. So my tenure in this game is probably doubled in size, or at least gone up a third. Not only that, they've tweaked questions constantly. One of them is this question you're talking about. And so there's other questions too on there. In the most recent incarnation of this form, 2 days, like a month or two ago, I was reading it. I'm like, oh, they rearranged the questions and rewording again. You got to be very careful about these kind of tricks or stuff that they do. But they used to say don't include parking tickets, or if it's a traffic ticket of a certain amount. We don't include citations for parking tickets as a policy in our office. We just don't think it is, but it could be wrong. I've never had issues. But if you had a citation, like if you're crossing the street and for jaywalking, that's a personal citation. You got to do that. But a parking ticket for street cleaning session, or something like you parked there somewhere, or you parked in a red zone, unless you keep doing it, it's a bad behavioral thing. I don't include that. But again, if it's like some other infraction or something like that, I would. So it depends on what it is. But park citations, and when you say parking tickets, I've had clients just had a consult. We have a lot of consultation about people doing citizenship. And they said, I got a couple of parking tickets. Then when we got into it, he just ran into a car and hit a hydrant and all this kind of stuff, belligerent driving. I'm like, okay, if some additional stuff like that's going on, we got to know, we got to think about it. So generally we don't go into parking tickets, but it depends on what you mean by parking ticket. Thomas Link says, from your experience, is it bad or good when USCIS is taking too long to respond after they receive notice? It's not bad or good. It's just processing. Secondly, would you recommend going to in office or sending a letter to inquire about a case? There's no going in office to USCIS. Don't even think about doing something like that unless you're like a massive emergency or something like that. And inquiry, I don't know enough about your case to be able to say make any actions on it. I can't advise on that, Thomas, because it might hurt your case, it might help. But I don't know what the issues are, what the NOID was about. NOIDs are pretty serious. Notice of intent to deny. So sometimes it'll take years and years to even get a decision on that. You're welcome, Danny. All right, we got a lot of questions halfway through it, so let's try to catch up. Let's see. Chris says, my sister lives in Congo, had 2 kids with her U.S. citizen spouse, but she sadly passed away in January. Is she still eligible to apply for a green card? My sister lives in Congo, but he sadly passed away. Yeah, if you're a spouse of a U.S. citizen and the citizen passes away, I think you have like a 2-year time period. It's called a widower visa. It's a form I-360. If your sister is in Congo, that's going to be probably a nightmare dealing with the embassy processing of that. I never dealt with Congo or that area, but it's a form I-360 for widower. She should do it as soon as possible. Have the death certificate, and she goes to the embassy if she's outside, and they'll handle it. With regard to the kids, you got to see if the kids are citizens or not. So hopefully they have their passports. But the mom could get the green cards and needs to move to the United States. But at least you got to file within 2 years to not miss a deadline. And that's 2 years after their passing. All right. Jersey says, will an advanced parole document give issues when I come back to U.S.? It's too case specific. What was your previous status? You want to maintain your previous status? Do you have any criminal history or other issues that are problematic? At the end of the day, there's no guarantees. Everything's going to be fine. Chris follows up, and the consulars refused to give her children citizenship because they said there's no proof the kids were from the late U.S. citizen, though I gave death certificate and birth certificate. That sucks. This is what happens. I'm really sorry to hear that, Chris. That's going to be a mess to fix, unfortunately. But when people, and just generally ask questions about, is this just okay, that okay, or how long these things take, this is something you're going to find where these kind of issues pop up. Like throughout, like starting from the top in Egypt, we have this major embassy doing these kind of things to people. And then now we're seeing the resident of Congo, that should be U.S. citizen probably. I can't say for sure. I read the documents, but we see this stuff happening frequently in various embassies in various regions of the world. You got to prepare for. It's very inconsistently applied, unfortunately. It may be due to certain countries have more document frauds or more skeptical, but you got to document the kids and show the relationship with the father, maybe. But these are the kind of things we need to get a lawyer, and it's going to get expensive. Someone's in the Congo to pay lawyer fees in the U.S. help, but you got to organize that in a proper way to try to get that fixed. Get a help from a congressperson. But that's very important is get that I-360 in at least for the deadline to keep it open. If there's issues, you can sue them later. All these cost a bunch of money. Frank says, hello, John. I got my NIW-B2C approval, intended to go for I-485. My mother is officially and clinically diabetic, English challenged U.S. citizen of Virginia, does not care to make my case exceptional. Therefore, I have to go back to Canada. Leaving my mother alone, I'm wondering if I'll be understanding would help. There's nothing you could do about the I-485. It's really a legal thing based on the visa bulletin and the USCIS interpretation. So if you're in the United States legally up to a second that you're legal, since you have what's called an employment-based case, EB1, 2, or 3, and I think they added 5 to it, but at least EB2, let's say, there's an exception called INA 245K, which says when your status officially ends, then you have 180 days after that to be able to still apply for adjustment of status in the United States. Now, you'll be accumulating what's called lawful presence time. So if you stay more than 180 days, you might not be able to get back in. You also, if you had the ability to use the visa waiver, you may lose that and future tourist visas. But if you think there's a chance that the visa bulletin will get current for your filing, the USCIS version. This is a very technical kind of stuff I'm saying. I'm not sure if you're all following along, but whatever. So I want to give a good answer. If you think that, you could take advantage of INA 245K if your last admission to the United States was admission, not parole. So there's like 5 different criteria sprinkled in there. And that's why you need to get a good consultation attorney, because we got to see what's going on here to try to solve the situation. Now, if you say going back to Canada, you're visa exempt, you're Canadian, so probably you don't have to worry about awful presence, probably, or tourist visas. But and you have a Iranian sounding last name, so you have other issues involved with the consular processing. So yeah, you definitely, Frank, schedule a consultation with an attorney that, if you're Iranian, deals with Iranian case as soon as possible to figure this out and see what could be done. There might be other things you could do, extensions of different kinds depending on the situation. So there's things you could do potentially to cover you, but you got to talk in private. Relaxation for peace asks, how long does it take for I-485, I-842 approval? I don't know. Those things are unreliable. They did change the rules on it. So they changed the policy manual. It doesn't help people who have the problem right now, but for future ones, they fixed like 50% of the issue or 70% of the issue. But I don't have time to get into that here. I want to answer your questions. Uger says, why do we have to wait that long for embassy to schedule a family visa interview? What are the conditions to expedite? If you have an emergency, you get expedite. What's an emergency? You tell me what your emergency is, and then we'll feel it out and give it a shot. That's standard is essentially. All right, let's go to TikTok. For those watching on TikTok, if you go and ask questions on our YouTube page, that's probably where I'm see it first, because on TikTok, we get so many people repeating the same question. It's hard to keep track of what's going on there. Although I love answering questions there, people are not, it just makes it hard to do that. Edgar says, my son will go to the Air Force. What do I need to get my green card? Your son needs to be a citizen. We got to go over your background, so we got to check that out. Schedule a consultation, jqqlaw.com/contact, jqqlaw.com/contact. Can you get N400 expedited under financial loss? I mean, depends. How would you have financial loss with that N400? So if you explain that, they may do it. Right now, the N400s are happening really quick anyway. It's election year, so I'm not sure if you really need to do that. Sazi says, I have a question. I applied for my parents' I-130 petition. I'm a U.S. citizen. When will it get approved? Probably a year after filing. Then you got to deal with the embassy. The Crystal says, it's been 2 years. I'm a citizen. USA still hasn't approved my husband's case. I don't know what's going on in your divorce case in particular, but it may just be regular processing time. Farrell says, how long does it take to get work permit through VAWA? I don't know. Reddy says, my wife's parents want to apply for a tourist visa from Iran. How long is the wait? A very long time, potentially. It's too much. That's a very unique kind of case that's going to take me like 15 minutes to explain it all, and we just don't have the time. And it's too specific to one group, so it's hard to do it. Anshu says, how many days does it take for USCIS Baltimore to schedule I don't keep track of every office anytime. Can I file the I-130 after I file I-360? It depends on what kind of case you're doing and what the basis of the I-130 and I-360 are. How to renew a Venezuelan passport that's expired? That's a Venezuelan government thing. My I-485 got rejected. What should I do? See what the rejection reason is and try to fix it. Anshu says, that's that question. Let's go check out YouTube. YouTube is okay. Let's go to Instagram. Actually, we got a YouTube question. Nero Shan says, how long NBC will take to make for an interview at 1:30? However long the embassy takes to schedule it. How long will it take the affidavit of support submitted? It depends on however long they want to take. Okay, so we go into the timeline questions as usual, but fortunately, I don't have answers about timelines. Zyke says, what year is for I-130? There's a bunch of different country bases and types of I-130, so go check the visa bulletin. That's where to go. I have an asylum withholding of removal. My daughter's 21-year-old citizen. How long processing a green card for me? How long is stuff? You should really look at whether you could apply for citizenship. They have lawful entry. If you have asylum, you probably have some lawful admission of some kind. So processing time, it could be fast. You just don't know with the government. So I would more look to see if we can even file it if it's appropriate. Arnauts, I wonder what tips do you have for me? Just focus in life. That's about it. Pray to God and focus in life. Hasa Hayat says, is there a fast way to acceptance of an invitation to your parents in Afghanistan? Nope. Please, can I expedite my I-360 after 2 years? How can I do that? Make a request from USCIS and have a good reason. Amui says, I'm already legally in the U.S. F1 status. Can my sister file for me if she's a citizen? She could start the process, but the sibling process takes like 15 years. So you got to stay here legally in some way. And it's difficult. So Thomas Link says, my notice to deny is about 204C from previous marriage. But that case was appealed and BIA says it's not applied and its denial is based on insufficient. New case has strong evidence. So can they override BIA? Thomas, you're in a very difficult position. It's going to take forever. Yeah. I mean, when you get stuck in these kind of situations, they a lot of times just sit on a case. You may need to sue them to make a decision. 204C findings, it looks terrible. So that's a hard case. So any questions about time? So that goes out the window. You have one of these cases that its own world. BI can do whatever it wants. You're talking like Thomas followed up and said, "Oh, the rules and the courts say this." Yeah, rules and courts say a lot of things, but at the end of the day, let them enforce it. So that comes from a line from Andrew Jackson when the Supreme Court said, "Don't do this to the Indians," and he's like, "Whatever, I do what I want to do." That's what you're dealing with. So I haven't read your decision, and probably it's a famous case. The BI, there's a famous case I recently haven't. If that's you and you're watching my show, well, thank you for joining, Thomas. But the government's going to do what it wants to do. So there's no like consistency in this kind of things. All right. So we got 5 minutes. Let's get some more TikTok questions in. Alex says, I'm 2 years away from my citizenship. Should I apply for my wife now as a green card holder or wait? We need to talk and have a private session, strategize on that to see which one's a better decision. New case has strong evidence. Thank you. You're welcome. I have to see it for myself, but it really doesn't matter what I think. It's just whoever has your case and who their supervisor is and what they want to do. And that could be anything from my experience. It could be good. It could be bad. They could just usually, frankly, just sit on these cases. But if they did annoyed already, usually they'll just sit on it and just not do anything for like years. That's the typical thing that they do. How to convert my I-130 green card U.S. passport from USCIS. You got to contact USCIS to tell them that you've naturalized and do that. Wasila says, can you explain more about prosecutorial discretion dismissal in your asylum case? We don't handle immigration court or asylum cases here. So I don't, I'm not, our firm is not the place to help for that kind of legal work that's needed. Dark Order asks, I'm currently trying to get my wife with my newborn in USA from Kenya. I-130 has been filed. Timeline. Dark Horse, I just have bad stuff to say about how long it's going to take, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, but the I-130 is going to take a year. Getting embassy appointment from Kenya might be another at least year and a half. So if we're lucky, 3. Now, Trump most likely is going to come. Kenya has good relationship with the U.S. I can't remember if they're part of I think they were a trial ban for a second, but they fixed it. So travel ban is not going to happen, but Kenya embassy is super backed up. I have a couple of cases right now, U.S. citizen cases, spouse cases in Kenya, Nigeria cases as well. They're just sitting on those. So it's very bad. I'm sorry. You got a kid. I have kids too. Be separated from your spouse, newborn. It's a nightmare. And the immigration system is just going to be that continuous nightmare for the next 2 or 3 years probably for you. I say it so freely just so you plan out your vacations when you're going to visit and stuff and don't have expectations. That's unfortunately that's the don't have expectations from the immigration system. That's the lesson of today's show. Paranoid Humanoid says, a difficult and lengthy process to request case file from USCIS. Nope, it's pretty easy and cheap. Friend can't find his divorce papers. I mean, they're going to give a copy of a scan potentially of your file. So if it's a FOIA request, so it's not a good quality version of it. Now, if you're saying you want a specific document, like an original that you gave to the government, you want it back, there's a specific form you have to fill and request that from the government. I never request that form. I don't look into it. It might have fees, it might not, I don't know. But if it's just you want to get a photocopy because you can't find it, I mean, you should go to the state or country and get actual divorce papers because you're going to need those for U.S. stuff. But if you just want to scan the USCIS FOIA, you can do that. They made it easier with the new online system. So USCIS FOIA on the website, you can fill that out and do that. All right, Paranoid Human, I want regulars. Yeah, if you're a regular, let me know. I want to see how many people regular. Got at least 10 or 15 people who are regulars in here, always joining. It's cool. I have my own show and people are regular watching. Who knows? I have a radio show one day. But having said that, if you're regular, join. Let me know and stuff, and catch me here. It might move the time up an hour. So I just got stuff to do once kids get home, so I gotta get off the show sooner. But yeah, we'll start a little hour earlier, probably in the coming weeks. Having said that, God bless, be safe. Go to our website. You want to contact us for a consultation, jqqlaw.com/contact, jqqlaw.com/contact, the website, fill that out. And if you're doing a fiance marriage case, we love those. We're designed for that case to be the best in house, white glove service, 5-star. Download our guide first. You get to know us and our videos and all that. marriageimmigrationlaw.com, marriageimmigrationlaw.com is the best place to go. God bless, be safe, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.